Everybody, welcome to God's Got This World. Hope you've had a great week. I know my American friends just had Thanksgiving. I'm trying to keep my mind on all the things I'm thankful for. This is a good time of the year to do that. That gives us hope and purpose and gives us light in our world. So try and think about all the things that you're grateful for this week. So me, for one, I'm so glad that the Father died for me on a cross so that my sins would be forgiven and I could live for eternity with him when I die. That's numero uno for me. And of course, I'm thankful for my children and my life that I have. So what are you thankful for? Let's keep our mind focused on the positive and the hopeful things like that. Anyways, grab your coffee, grab your tea, hot chocolate, sandwich, cookies, whatever you've got. Let's get into the Word. And we're in 2 Kings chapter 7 right now. Now, Elijah answered to King Benhadad, I have a message for you. The Lord promises that tomorrow here in Samaria, you will be able to buy a large sack of flour or two large sacks of barley for almost nothing. Can you imagine that in this day and age? The chief officer there with the king replied, well, I don't believe it. Even if the Lord sent a rainstorm, it couldn't produce that much grain by tomorrow. You will see it happen, but you won't eat any of that food, Elijah warned him. Well, about the same time, 4 men with leprosy were just outside the gate of Samaria, and they said to each other, why should we sit here waiting to die? There's nothing to eat in this city, so we would starve if we went inside. But if we stay out here, we will die for sure anyways. So let's sneak over to the Syrian army camp and surrender. They might kill us, but they might not. That evening, the 4 men got up and left for the Syrian camp. And as they walked towards the camp, the Lord caused the Syrian troops to hear what sounded like the roar of a huge cavalry. The soldiers said to each other, listen, the king of Israel must have hired Hittite and Egyptian troops to attack us. Let's get out of here. So they ran out of their camp that night, leaving their tents, their horses, and their donkeys. And when the 4 men with leprosy reached the edge of the Syrian camp, no one was there. They walked into one of the tents where they ate and drank before carrying off clothes as well as silver and gold, and they hid all this. And then they walked into another tent and they took what they wanted and they hid it too. And they said to each other, this isn't right. Today is a day to celebrate, and we haven't told anyone else what has happened. If we wait until morning, we will be punished. Let's go to the king's palace right now and tell the good news. Well, they went back to Samaria and shouted up to the guards at the gate. We've just come from the Syrian army camp and all the soldiers are gone. The tents are empty and the horses and the donkeys are still tied up. We didn't see or hear anybody. Well, the guards reported the news to the king's palace, and the king got out of bed and said to his officers, I know what those Syrians are doing. They know we're starving, so they're hiding in the fields, hoping we will go out to look for food. And when we do, they'll capture us and take our city. Well, one of his officers replied, we have a few horses left. Why don't we let some men take 5 of them and go to the Syrian camp and see what's happened? We're going to die anyway, like those who have already died. They found 2 chariots, and the king commanded the men to find out what had happened to the Syrian troops. The men rode as far as the Jordan River, and all along the way they saw clothes and equipment that the Syrians had thrown away as they escaped. And then they went back to the king and they told him what they had seen. Well, at once the people went to the Syrian camp and carried off what was left. They took so much that a large sack of flour and 2 large sacks of barley sold for almost nothing, just as the Lord had promised. The king of Israel had put his chief officer in charge of the gate, but he died when the people trampled him as they rushed out of that city. Earlier, when the king was at Elijah's house, Elijah had told him that flour or barley would sell for almost nothing. But the officer refused to believe that the Lord could do this. So Elijah warned him that he would see it happen, but would not eat any of that food. And that's exactly what happened. The officer was trampled to death. Well, Elijah told the woman whose son he had brought back to life, "The Lord has warned that there will be no food here for 7 years. Take your family and go live somewhere else for a while." The woman did exactly what Elijah had said and went to live in Philistine territory. And she and her family lived there 7 years. And then she returned to Israel and immediately begged the king to give back her house and her property. Meanwhile, the king was asking Gehazi, the servant of Elijah, about the amazing things Elijah had been doing. While Gehazi was telling him that Elijah brought a dead boy back to life, the woman and her son arrived. "Here's the boy, Your Majesty," Gehazi said, "and this is his mother." The king asked the woman to tell her story, and she told him everything that had happened. And he then said to one of his officials, "I want you to make sure that this woman gets back everything that belonged to her. Her money, her crops, and money she's made since the day she left Israel." Well, some day later, Elijah went to the capital city of Damascus to visit King Ben-Hadad of Syria, who was very sick. And when Ben-Hadad was told he was there, he said to Hazael, "Go meet with Elijah, the man of God, and have him ask the Lord if I will get well, and take along a gift for him." Well, Hazael left with 40 camel loads of the best things made in Damascus as a gift for Elijah. He found the prophet and said, "Your servant, King Ben-Hadad, wants to know if he will get well." "Tell him he will," Elijah said to Hazael, "but the Lord has already told me that Ben-Hadad will definitely die." Sounds a little bit like a contradiction there. Well, Elijah stared at him until Hazael was embarrassed, and then Elijah began crying. "Sir, why are you crying?" Hazael asked. Elijah answered, "Because I know the terrible things you will do to the people of Israel. You will burn down their walled cities and slaughter their young men. You will crush the heads of babies and rip open their pregnant women." "How could I ever do anything like that?" Hazael replied. "I'm only a servant, and I don't have that kind of power." "Hazael, the Lord has told me that you will be the next king of Syria." Hazael went back to Ben-Hadad and told him, "Elijah said that you will get well." But the very next day, Hazael got a thick blanket. He soaked it in water, and he held it over Ben-Hadad's face until he died. So it was true what the Lord said. He did get well, but then he was murdered. So that's what it meant in that passage, that he would die. Hazael then became king. Well, Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat, became king of Judah in Joram's 5th year as king of Israel. Well, Jehoshaphat was still king of Judah. Jehoram was 32 years old when he became king, and he ruled 8 years from Jerusalem. Jehoram disobeyed the Lord by doing wrong. He married Ahab's daughter and was as sinful as Ahab's family and the kings of Israel. But the Lord refused to destroy Judah because he had promised his servant David that someone from his family would always rule in Judah. While Jehoram was king, the people of Edom rebelled and chose their own king. So Jehoram and his cavalry marched to Zair, where the Edomite army surrounded him and his commanders. And during the night he attacked the Edomites, but he was defeated, and his troops escaped to their homes. Judah was never able to regain control of Edom. Even the town of Libnah rebelled at that time. This was a town, Libnah, on the border between Philistia and Judea. And Jehoram was facing rebellion on 2 sides of his kingdom. And everything else Jehoram did while he was king is written in the history of the kings of Judah. And Jehoram died and was buried beside his ancestors in Jerusalem. And his son Hazael then became king. Now Hazael, son of Jehoram, became king of Judah in the 12th year of Joram's rule in Israel. Hazael was 22 years old when he became king, and he ruled from Jerusalem for only 1 year. His mother was Athaliah, a granddaughter of King Omri of Israel. And since Hazael was related to Ahab's family, he acted just like them and disobeyed the Lord by doing wrong. Hazael went with King Joram of Israel to attack King Hazael and the Syrian troops at Ramoth in Gilead. And Joram was wounded in that battle, so he went to the town of Jezreel to recover. Hazael went there to visit him. Well, one day Elijah called for one of the other prophets, and he said, "Take this bottle of olive oil and get ready to go to the town of Ramoth in Gilead. And when you get there, find Jehu, son of Jehoshaphat and grandson of Nimshi. Take him to a place where the two of you can be alone, and then pour this olive oil on his head to show that he is a new king. And say to him, 'The Lord has chosen you to be king of Israel.' Then leave quickly. Don't wait around for anything." Well, the young prophet left for Ramoth, and when he arrived, the army officers were meeting together. "Sir, I have a message for you," he said. "For which one of us?" Jehu asked. "You, sir," the prophet answered. So Jehu got up and he went inside, and the prophet poured olive oil on Jehu's head and told him, "The Lord God of Israel has this message for you. I am the Lord, and I have chosen you to be king of my people Israel. I want you to wipe out the family of Ahab, so Jezebel will be punished for killing the prophets and my other servants. Every man and boy in Ahab's family must die, whether slave or free. His whole family must be destroyed, just like the families of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and Baasha, son of Ahijah. As for Jezebel, her body will be eaten by dogs in the town of Jezreel. There won't be enough left of her to bury." Then the young prophet opened the door and he ran out. Jehu went back to his officers, and one of them asked, "What did that crazy prophet want? Is everything all right?" "You know him and how he talks," Jehu answered. "No, we don't. What did he say?" they asked. "He had a message from the Lord," Jehu replied. "He said that the Lord has chosen me to be the next king of Israel." They quickly grabbed their coats and they spread them out on the steps where Jehu was standing. Someone blew a trumpet and everyone shouted, "Jehu is king!" Well, King Joram of Israel had been badly wounded in the battle at Ramoth, trying to defend it against King Hazael and the Syrian army. Joram was now recovering in Jezreel, and King Uzziah of Judah was there visiting him. Meanwhile, Jehu was in Ramoth making plans to kill Joram. He said to his officers, "If you want me to be king, then don't let anyone leave this town." They might go to Jezreel and tell Joram. And then Jehu got into his chariot and he rode to Jezreel. When the guard in the watchtower at Jezreel saw Jehu and his men riding up, he shouted to the king, "I see a bunch of men coming this way." Joram ordered, "Send someone out to ask them if this is a friendly visit." Well, one of the soldiers rode out and he said to Jehu, "King Joram wants to know if this is a friendly visit." "What's it to you?" Jehu asked. "Just stay behind me with the rest of my troops." About the same time, the guard in the watchtower said, "Your Majesty, the rider got there, but he isn't coming back." So Joram sent out another rider who rode up to Jehu and asked, "The king wants to know, is this a friendly visit?" "What's it to you?" Jehu asked. "Just get behind me with the rest of my troops." Well, the guard in the watchtower again said, "Your Majesty, the rider got there, but he isn't coming back either." "Wait a minute. That one man is a reckless chariot driver. It must be Jehu." Joram commanded, "Get my chariot ready." Then he and Uzziah got in their chariots and rode out to meet Jehu, and they all met on the land that had belonged to Naboth. And Joram asked, "Jehu, is this a peaceful visit? Friendly or peaceful?" "How can there be peace?" Jehu asked. "Your mother Jezebel has caused everyone to worship idols and practice witchcraft." "Uzziah, let's get out of here," Joram yelled. "It's a trap." As Joram tried to escape, Jehu shot an arrow, and it hit Joram between his shoulders. Then it went through his heart and came out his chest, and he fell over dead in his chariot. Jehu commanded his assistant Bidkar, "Get Joram's body and throw it in the field that Naboth once owned. Do you remember when you and I used to ride side by side behind Joram's father Ahab? It was then that the Lord swore to Ahab that he would be punished in the same field where he had killed Naboth and his sons. So throw Joram's body there, just as the Lord said." Uzziah saw all this happen and tried to escape to the town of Beth again, but Jehu caught up with him and shouted, "Kill him too!" So his troops shot Uzziah with an arrow while he was on the road to Gur near Ibleam, and he went as far as Megiddo, where he died. Uzziah's officers put his body in a chariot, and they took it back to Jerusalem, where they buried him beside his ancestors. Now Jehu headed towards Jezreel, and when Jezebel heard he was coming, she put on eyeshadow and brushed her hair. Then she stood at the window waiting for him to arrive. As he walked through the city gate, she shouted down to him, "Why did you come here, you murderer? To kill the king? You're no better than Zimri." He looked up toward the window and he asked, "Is anyone up there on my side?" A few palace workers stuck their heads out of a window, and Jehu shouted, "Throw her out the window." They threw her down, and her blood splattered on the walls and on the horses that trampled her body. Jehu left to get something to eat and drink, and then he told some workers, "Even though she was evil, she was a king's daughter, so make sure she has a proper burial." But when they went out to bury her body, they found only her skull, her hands, and her feet. They reported this to Jehu, and he said, "The Lord told Elijah the prophet that Jezebel's body would be eaten by dogs right here in Jezreel, and he warned that her bones would be spread all over the ground like manure so that no one could tell who it was." Oh my goodness, what an evil queen. Ahab still had 70 descendants living in Samaria, so Jehu wrote a letter to each of the important leaders and officials of the town and to those who supported Ahab. And in the letters he wrote, "Your town is strong, and you're protected by chariots and an armed cavalry, and I know that King Ahab's descendants live there with you. So as soon as you read this letter, choose the best person for the job and make him the next king. Then be prepared to defend Ahab's family." Well, the officials and leaders read the letters and were very frightened. And they said to each other, "Jehu has already killed King Joram and King Uzziah. We have to do what he says." The prime minister, the mayor of the city, as well as the other leaders and Ahab's supporters, sent this answer to Jehu. "We are your servants, your majesty, and we will do whatever you tell us. But it's not our place to choose someone to be king. You do what you think is best." Jehu then wrote another letter which said, "If you are on my side and will obey me, then prove it. Bring me the heads of the descendants of Ahab, and be here in Jezreel by this time tomorrow." Well, the 70 descendants of King Ahab were living with some of the most important people of the city. And when these people read Jehu's second letter, they called together all 70 of Ahab's descendants, and they killed them, put their heads in baskets, and sent them to Jezreel. When Jehu was told what had happened, he said, "Put the heads in 2 piles at the city gate and leave them there until morning." Well, the next morning, Jehu went out and stood where everyone could hear him, and he said, "You people are not guilty of anything. I'm the one who plotted against Joram and had him killed. But who killed all these men? Listen to me. Everything the Lord's servant Elijah promised about Ahab's family will come true." Then Jehu killed the rest of Ahab's relatives living in Jezreel, as well as his highest officials, his priests, and his closest friends. And no one in Ahab's family was left alive in Jezreel. Jehu then left for Samaria, and along the way he met some relatives of King Uzziah of Judah at a place where shepherds meet. And he asked, "Who are you?" "We are relatives of Uzziah," they answered. "We're going to visit his family." "Take them alive," Jehu said to his officers. So they grabbed them and led them to the well near the shepherds' meeting place, where they killed all 42 of them. As Jehu went on, he saw Jehonadab, son of Rechab, coming to meet him. Jehu greeted him, and he said, "Jehonadab, I'm on your side. Are you on mine?" "Yes, I am," he replied. "Then give me your hand," Jehu answered. He helped Jehonadab into his chariot, and he said, "Come with me and see how faithful I am to the Lord." They rode together in Jehu's chariot to Samaria. Jehu killed everyone there who belonged to Ahab's family, as well as all his officials, and everyone in his family was now dead, just as the Lord had promised Elijah. Okay, we're going to stop there. Wow. The Lord definitely keeps his promises, as we read there. When he spoke something, it happened. And Jehu, he was a king that was faithful to the Lord and killed every one of Ahab's descendants and friends and officials. The Lord knows what's best. I know sometimes we like to think we do, but we really don't. We can't see the future. We can see our past, but we can't see the future, what's going to happen. So I don't know about you, but for me, I want the Lord on my side. Just like Jehu asked, are you on my side? I want the Lord on my side. I want him having my back. My friends and family, I love them, but they can't save me. Only the Father can. So again, if you don't know him today, turn your eyes towards heaven and ask him to come into your life, forgive you of your sins, and make you a new person, somebody different than you are now. And he will do that. He says what he means, and he means what he says. And he does it. He will change you. If you have all kinds of like addictions and problems, God can change all of that stuff. He can take those addictions away from you. He can give you a new life. And he's the only one who can do that. So please look to the Father, look to Jesus, and ask him to come into your life and lead your life in a way you should go. So guys, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. You ate lots of turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy, my favorite part of the meal. And keep looking up. And I pray your finances and your close relationships and your health will all be good and blessed by the Lord. So have a good weekend. See you next time. Shabbat Shalom. Blessings. Take care.